everybody. Welcome to Muscular Development's report of the finals of the Orlando Pro. Stunning upset. Guys. Not bad. And sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that.
Big time.
This is live TV, folks. It happened. Sorry. So, joining me with the coverage on the ground in Orlando, Big Mike Cox. He was there. His wife, Mandy, taking great pictures. Yay. He has an expert eye from being around this sport for many, many decades, as well as this other gentleman you see joining us at 1:35 a.m. in the United Kingdom. Yes, Giles Tiger Thomas. How's everybody doing, guys?
Fantastic. Great show. Great show.
Wait away. Yeah. I just want to say this is probably the biggest upset I have seen. Phil Clahar beating Hassan. When was the last time you guys remember someone who was such a heavy favorite not winning a show? Because I'm trying to rack my head and I can't recall.
2018 Olympia.
Yeah. Good call.
Phil Heath being defeated by the late Sean Roden, whose training partner Stanimals in this show. But this was what a day for Phil Clahar, guys. Wow. Hassan looked amazing. Mike will tell us more about that. He looked unbeatable a few hours ago.
Yeah.
But, Giles was saying, hold on, guys, especially as the pictures came in the night show, this could definitely go the other way. Patty Clahar, Phil's wife, she called it way earlier today. She was messaging me saying, he's got this. I'm like, like I said, I hope so. I didn't think it was, I thought Hassan was going to win this. He just looked fantastic. But Mike started sending us pictures from the night show, and Phil just improved. I don't know what percentage, but to me, this looks every bit as good as Phil's best look, which people keep going back to 2021 Texas. He got way better. So, Mike, tell us, how did things change from, 6 hours ago to just now?
I don't want to say Hassan wasn't as tight, right? But it was just a little bit off than what he showed us this morning. And like Giles mentioned, his stomach, right? So I'm not sure if he ate a little bit. When he first came out on stage, he wasn't descended, but it wasn't that same tight, sucked-in look that he had previously. And like you said, dude, Phil.
Call to here.
Here's what I found.
Okay, guys, we're just having a minor technical difficulty here. So thank you for your patience as we are trying to restore the sound here. Okay, guys, we will be right back. We're just having some technical difficulties. Thank you for your patience. Okay, for some reason, Zoom just cut out. I have no idea why. Can you guys hear me still? Just nod your heads if you can hear me. All right, I'm going to reconnect. Give it a minute.
Okay, guys, we're back. Apologize, a little slight technical difficulty. Here again with Big Mike Cox and Giles Tiger Thomas talking about the Orlando Pro, where Phil Clahar pulled the upset of the season, maybe the biggest upset in a couple of years, by beating heavy pre-contest favorite Hassan Mostafa, who looked incredible today. So Mike was just recapping. He was there for both the judging and the finals, of course, close up to the stage. So Mike, run down how things changed. Did Hassan change much for better or worse? Phil definitely seemed, just from the pictures you sent us, to have improved drastically.
Phil improved a lot. He was like I said, I mentioned earlier, a little flat this morning. He came back tonight, Ron, bursting full, confidence like crazy. Hassan wasn't as tight as he was this morning. It wasn't much. Listen, we're nitpicking here, right? It wasn't like he just totally lost it, but I think they were pretty close this morning. And Phil coming back a little bit fuller, it pushed that detail through a lot, man. But you can't. Hassan, he has such a freak factor to him that it's hard to take your eyes off him because he's got so much ungodly muscle. But I give the judges credit because Phil, his quads weren't as big, obviously, but they're very separated, huge back. But his overall, I think, fullness maybe gave him the nod this evening, but it had to be maybe a 1 or 2 point decision. It wasn't, straight lights out, but you can't be happy for, you can't have enough for Phil. Like, he clapped to the ground when he won. It was truly a heartfelt moment seeing him on stage, 49 years old, going to the Olympia, dude. And after an off year last year, do we think coming in, Phil Clahar's going to win? Nobody had Phil winning the show. Nobody. I mean, the check was written on essentially for Hassan.
Sorry, can I interject? Do you know what I like to see? I like to see a bit of a break of what we've been seeing, because lately we've been seeing outright judging decisions at all the shows, the Arnold, all these pro shows, 333, 666, 999. And to be honest, it's getting a bit annoying. It's getting a bit predictable, because I want to see the unpredictability of what can happen in just those few hours between the judging and the night show. So I'm guessing, if I was a betting man, I would say Hassan had, straight threes for the pre-judging, and I'm guessing that Phil had the straight threes for tonight. So I'm guessing, like you said, Mike, I'm guessing like there's like 1 point in this, because for me, Hassan was the clear winner of prejudging, and I thought he had it. And I know I was saying on the group chat there, literally about 20 minutes before he won, I was saying, the gap is closed here. Could it happen? I didn't really believe that Phil could actually do it, but I was really happy that it happened, because it's like, right, okay, it shows that these guys are being properly rejudged, because that to me is what makes up the sporting element and makes it fun for the fans to follow. When in just a few hours, that's why you have to, you can never, like when you see these runners and they start celebrating before they've actually gone the running line, and then something happens and then somebody goes past them, it makes it more exciting. That's what makes it more fun for the fans to follow. So this for me it wasn't an upset or a surprise. I'm just happy for Phil that he's won. And to be honest, because I'm doing the live stream commentary for the Masters Olympia, and I felt like the Masters Olympia needed some big narrative, some big talking point to really get the ball rolling, because we're only a few weeks out now. So I think this makes it really interesting. And I said earlier on to you guys, like this, if Phil comes second or whatever, even if he comes second, this is a conversation for him winning, and actually winning the Masters Olympia. Yeah. So for me, there's a lot of talking points around this show that are going to make it a very, very unique show. And I'm super happy for Phil. Like you said, Mike, 49 years old, winning his first pro show and regaining what he kind of lost after 2021. So it proves that, guys can slip, and, there isn't like a downward trajectory at a certain age. You just got to nail it, get it right, and you can win.
And the judges worked these guys. It wasn't just like Hassan and Phil were compared over and over and over and over again. So the judges worked everybody, even from third through fifth. They gave everybody in that lineup a shot. They moved them around. They didn't keep in the same spot, and they worked. And that's what makes it good, because we all thought how this was going to turn out, but it didn't. It gives the sport now, the best person wins on stage now. It's not a lot of certain names win these shows anymore. It really is now the best physique wins the show. And we see that here. We see that at the Olympia every year now, with a different winner almost every single year now.
And it's not even on the day. It's actually on the hour, because you could say whoever deserved, like Hadi, he was the best on the day. But now, early in the day, I don't know about you, but I had Hassan winning the prejudging. So at that part in the day, Hassan was the right man for the win. Yep. But then just like 4 hours, 4 hours later, and it shows you just how much the body can change, And I like the fact that the judges are hot on this. The fact that they really this confirmation round isn't some token bullshit round. It's actually, they're saying it is exactly what it says it is. So, I mean, Mike, as you were there, how did you have it at prejudging? How did you have it tonight?
Listen, Joe, prejudging, I thought Hassan destroyed it. He looked for, not that Phil wasn't good, but Hassan was that good this morning. Plus, we've never seen Hassan like this, right? So when we see a guy who finally nails it with his conditioning, we get excited. But for me, Hassan clearly won. Tonight, when he walked out, I first thing I did was look at his stomach. I looked to see how he was posing in front of a bicep. It still looked good, but it wasn't as crisp. And Phil he's so round, and I think the shape differential is there too, right? Yeah. Phil's a wider guy, wider shoulders, wider clavicles, smaller waist. But you know what? I can't argue with him winning the show. It's you can't say, oh well, Phil didn't deserve it. He did too. Yeah. I wouldn't have been upset with either guy winning the show, but like I said, you're happy for Phil, man, because I'm 49 years old, man, and it gives me hope. You know what I mean? It gives me motivation, dude. Like when I see the old guys up there, you're like, man, his legs are still there. You know what I mean? So the things that are supposed to go aren't
Phil
gone.
Could be his dad. Phil could be his dad. He's 18 years older.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, legally. But he's I know a lot of people are going to be upset, a lot of the Hassan fans, and they're going to want explanations. What did he beat him on? And I was actually, once I saw the finals pictures, I sort of could see it could go that way. I said, he's beating him on structure for sure. And he plays that up so well. When he did the front double bicep shot next to Hassan, he does that little tilt and twist like Sean Roden did, like Victor Martinez used to do. And it really played up the much superior, the vastly superior structure that he has. And he was fuller. So now Hassan still carries a lot more muscle. It's just an ungodly thick man. But Phil being fuller closed the gap a little bit, and the conditioning was bang on. It was, God bless him. I'm so happy for Phil. He's been second place many, many times, third, fourth, fifth. I've probably seen Phil compete about a dozen times now as a pro, maybe around that number. And he's so many times he's come close. But
usually we look at age, like Sean Ray always used to go on. So basically, once you're over 40, it is a steady decline. If you can maybe hold that position. But then remember what Dexter Jackson did in 2012, because I remember I was at the 2012 with you at the Arnold Classic, and he dropped to 5th place, and it was a really poor Arnold that year. That was on Ben Pekulski kept second. And you had Branch winning, and maybe Dennis Wolf should have beaten him. And I remember Dexter came out with a distended stomach, and his legs were starting to go. So this was 2012, and he dropped to 5th, and I was like, okay, he's way over 40. This is pretty much now. This is where he starts to decline. And then in 2012, he came back and won the Masters Olympia. And then he kind of came back and started working with Charles Glass. And, so it proves that, guys, it's not, age isn't necessarily a factor. It's just a matter of peaking right. So, but also, I mean, look at the, I hate to say it. I hate to ask the question to both of you, but I know sometimes when you see someone that puts a good posing routine together, or someone who brings softer condition and they reward it, are we seeing a change in the judging? Because remember when Sean Rowe won the Olympia, it's like, oh, now they're going for more shapely guys. Guys like Cedric now have more of a chance, and it just turns out to be just basically he was just the best on the day, and Phil lost because of some other reason. It wasn't just about the judges looking for a new certain look. So do you think now that we've seen Samson beat Nick Walker, we've seen, what else have we seen recently? Hassan was beat by Ian Valier, who arguably wasn't as thick and as big or as kind of freaky. Do you think we are starting to see, because I said to you earlier on, I said, is Steve Weinberger judging this show? Because it seems to me, he seems to be going for the guys that like Samson wasn't the driest at the Arnold Classic. He wasn't, the freakiest, yet he won straight firsts. So do you think now with the several of these, sort of wins happening, do you think now that the judges are really starting to actively, do you think, basically, do you think Hassan lost because of his waist, or do you just think because Phil looked better for other reasons? What's your take?
When you have a guy, right, that's very shapely, but maybe not as hard or as conditioned, but he's got good condition. It's still your eye is naturally drawn to that shape, right? Your eye is naturally drawn to Samson, naturally drawn to Andrew Jack, right? Now, when you put those two big guys together with someone shorter like Nick, the differences become apparent. And even when you have someone with like crazy dumb muscle like Hassan, right? And against Phil, who's not as thick, but Phil held his own size-wise, Giles. He wasn't really overmatched other in the leg department size-wise. He wasn't overmatched too much in the back double, the rear lat spread, side chest. He held his own. But I think we're seeing a shift because those bigger guys, not bigger, the shaper guys just look phenomenal when they're on. Now, if Phil wasn't 100%, then no, it wouldn't be a question. But when you're having him at as close to his best, maybe if not his best, that shape just is so pretty and it's so nice to look at, and it doesn't have to turn into a glute show anymore, right? It's we always all the glutes, but Phil's got glutes, but it's not a glute show. It's the entire like what we grew up on, the classic aesthetic look that we grew up on that maybe wasn't as hard or as dry as Dorian, but Flex was pretty too. You know what I mean? So
are we seeing a change in because Phil wasn't the biggest or the hardest today, but he won.
Well, you know what? When you look at certain, like we just had the front lat spread comparison up, he actually, aside from the freaky legs on Hassan, Phil looks much bigger in that shot because he's got that very similar structure to Andrew Jack with the super wide clavicles. And when he pushes in the waist, the V taper is just astonishing. Hassan doesn't have much of a taper. The front shots are where he kind of suffers. His front double, his front lat spread, his front relax, because he's never going to have a narrow waist.
No.
That's his structure. He's got ungodly amounts of muscle and he's got into tremendous condition today. It's just I don't think the judging goes in these trends. I think they are always supposed to determine the best total package on stage that day. And if you go by total package, mass, shape, structure, conditioning, Phil edged him out, particularly in the finals. I think if the show had ended today after judging, I think Hassan was the winner.
Yeah.
But Phil really, I can't even recall the last time a confirmation round made such a difference.
Yeah.
So many times I'm sitting there and going, my God, this is such a waste of time that they do this now.
And
I just find it superfluous.
And in the same day. I mean, normally we have a day apart, so guys can actually change their bodies quite a lot. But, really, this was only a few hours. So for someone who was, Hassan for me was the clear winner at prejudging. And then just a few hours later, I'm saying on the group chat, guys, could Phil edge this out? Because I felt like if it was close at prejudging, then I felt like that conversation was really, because it was floating around my head. And I thought, did I even say this? But like it's not like that, there was a big gap. And it's quite impressive that he actually managed to close that in just a few hours. And it's not like Hassan, ate a lot of food and his stomach just went crazy. Like you've seen some guys and they come back and you think, what the hell have they done the last few hours? Somebody, they can really rebound or can really, really. So, but the question I want to ask, I know you weren't there today, but comparing this Phil to, and the Texas Pro 2021 lighting was absolutely superb. Was this a better Phil than the Texas, or was it just that he was as good, but the lighting and everything else was better at the Texas in 21? What's your thoughts, both of you?
I'll go because I want to read the top five first because people are asking for results. It was Phil Clahar first, Hassan Mostafa second, Stan DeLongo, aka Stanimal, third, Emmanuel Alvarez in his pro debut in fourth, fifth, Chris DiDomenico. Also want to make sure I mention happy birthday to Dr. George Touliatos over in Athens, Greece. He turned the big 5-0 today. Join the over 50 club. You guys, Giles, Mike, you'll be there eventually, soon. Not yet. It's not time yet. But happy birthday, Dr. T. I wanted to start going into these other guys, so it's not all about Phil versus Clahar. Although I do want to add what you said, Giles, about the Masters Olympia being much more interesting now. I didn't really see Phil as a threat to win the Masters Olympia prior to an hour ago. Now, changed my tune completely. I'm on Team Clahar. I'm thinking, who else is in it? Johnny Jackson, Hede. There's some very good guys, but Phil is at the top of his game right now. I don't know if anyone else on that stage is going to be the best they've ever looked, but
Ron,
Phil is.
We didn't even expect Phil to be in shape, let alone win it.
Right,
Because
right.
I thought, okay, this Masters Olympia, this is his show. That's the one he's getting ready for. He's not even going to be looking at a push. If we're lucky, he might be looking 2 or 3 weeks out, and he just pushes the diet for a little bit at this far out from the Masters Olympia. But he really, really peaked for this. So can you imagine, and especially with the confidence and the buzz he's got now, and the and the kind of momentum that he's going to be coming into the Masters Olympia with. I mean, I bet Kamal is not, I bet he's not sort of spending that money and sort of really sort of, because I mean, I'm not saying it was a foregone conclusion, but really, Max Charles, Josh Lenartowicz, who hasn't competed since 2020, really, this was like on paper, this should have been an easy win for Kamal, but now Kamal's really going to have to bring his A game. And even if he does, as it's proven here today, Clahar is a threat for this title. So, Kamal's really, I wouldn't be surprised if Kamal jumps into the 212.
I mean, Phil is structurally superior. Superior. That's how Hakeem Williams beat him, mainly on structure. He was a monstrous man, of course, too. But, Kamal, I love Kamal. I love that muscle quality, the density. But somebody with a lot of muscle in great condition with detail and balance and a better structure is going to give him a real problem.
Yeah.
He's going to have to be like he was at Tampa when he came second to Hakeem. He's going to, and that even then, it's going to be tight. It's going to be tight because I do expect both those guys, and then you got the wild cards like Josh Lenartowicz and Charles, and and there'll be a couple of others that probably shock some new guys. So for me, this has really added I know we're not really talking about Masters, but for me, it's really added a level of excitement for the Masters Zone.
100%.
Sorry to interrupt. Before I forget, how did Jason Lowe do?
Yeah, do we know?
He was on the outside. He was, I would say, maybe 6th, 7th in that 6th, 7th spot. He looks phenomenal. I'm really impressed with his look. I love that kid's look. It's very, very, very clean look. The quads are so big. He's got really great quads separated and everything. Like you said, you got to grow into that body. Just slowly add a few pounds here and there. Don't lose the conditioning because he's well on his way. He's not missing anything. He was not out of place tonight. He didn't look out of place at all.
People are asking about what show Hassan can do. There's so many options for Hassan, guys.
Vancouver is next, right?
Vancouver Pro is next weekend. Right?
A lot of these shows, we've kind of got certain guys earmarked to win those, like Chicago. Like in the back of our minds, we know who we've got really winning those, and because we want all those guys in the Olympia, and there's only so many shows now. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he could come over and do Portugal next week, Hassan, because I mean that's going to be a tough show. So it's not a foregone conclusion that would be an easy win and qualification.
You got Presti, you got Vlad. Who else is in that one?
Amira Marajic, you've got I think I'm sure, oh god, I forgot now. It's off the top of my head.
Let's just say it's not going to be a cakewalk. No. He's going to have to work for that.
I think Vancouver's. What do you think? Do you think Vancouver's his best shot now? But I don't even who's doing Vancouver.
Don't know. We got Vancouver, Chicago the week after that.
This was supposed to be an easy win for Hassan, wasn't it? This was supposed to be his show. So
this was his ticket to the Olympia, Giles. This was supposed to be his. I'm going to Orlando again. This
is the first victim of the point system being taken away. He just grabbed 2 second places. That might have been enough for him to be top 4 or whatever you have to be in the points. But we don't have that anymore. They just eliminated it.
And a few hours ago, we were saying, we could be top 10 Olympia this year. And it's like, now it's like, shit, is he going to qualify?
And how fast that changes. In a couple of hours.
And it's not that he looked worse. He didn't blow it. He didn't. No. That would make more sense to people, to a lot of fans. But he didn't blow it. Phil just got that much better in 4 hours time, 5 hours time. Unbelievable.
Crazy, man.
Yeah, and whoever interviews him, Giles, you're trying to get a hold of him, right?
Tomorrow. Yeah, I've just messaged him. I was going to message him beforehand, and I was going to say I'll message him in the morning because I know Patty will answer and she'll sort it out because I want to do it in the evening. But as soon as he won, I was like, shit, before all the DMs come in, I always make sure I get it in now because, I can sort it out because it's, I do a lot of these last minute you know, whether
Right.
somebody wins or, you know, and I'm filming the next day. Like if it films on the shows on the Saturday or Sunday, I can film on the Sunday or the Monday. Because I like to get like Laszlo, you know, I literally had him when he was still fresh out the shower and just literally an hour later after winning. And they're good. There's always a certain type of buzz when you get those interviews when they've either literally only just walked off stage and they've got their trophy in the background, or they're at the airport or the hotel and they're buzzing because, you know, they've just won. I mean, I like those kind of short 15, 20-minute interviews, and it's just they're riding the high, you know?
Oh, it's always better to interview somebody after they won instead of after they lost.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're feeling they're on top of the world. They're not, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, God, you know, congratulations, Phil. So happy for him. Let's talk about some of the other people, so it's not just a Phil and Hassan show today. Third place, Stan DeLongu, who somebody corrected me in the chat earlier because I didn't recall. There was a pro show in Brazil earlier this year. He took second place, so he's got a couple top 5 spots now that he's had. He was, I think, 4th in the Legion. So Stan, Mike, you were impressed with Stan because this is I don't know if you've ever seen him in person before until today, have you?
This is the first time I've ever seen him. He was skinless. He had no skin on him. He was the epitome of condition. Like, I'm a condition freak, and he brought a level of conditioning that we don't see a lot. Like he looked like it hurt, like he was suffering, but he had that condition with really full pecs, full legs. His legs probably need a little more sweep, a little more size. But as far as his condition is concerned, man, he's probably the most conditioned guy in the show, easily, Giles.
What do you think he weighs? Any idea?
Ow.
I would have no.
Yeah,
40?
I mean, is he about 6 foot? I've met him just briefly. I can't even recall, but I know he's taller than me, but most people are.
Big
So.
guy. I can ask Patrick.
Yeah, well, he looked, the conditioning was spot on, and that's, you don't, whatever he weighs, I'm going to take a wild guess, say he's about 250, maybe 260, because he's a tall guy. So to be in that condition with that much mass and a decent structure for sure too. He's got a good taper. He's got good quad sweep. It's hard to believe this was a men's physique competitor, a pro, just like 4 or 5 years ago.
He had that real hard, grainy look to him that just it stands out on the bottom of the stage, right?
Mm-hmm.
Wasn't as big as Hassan or Phil, obviously, but you couldn't stop looking at stamina when he was out there. He was just so. This might have been his best showing that we've had to see him before. Mm-hmm. It's just the other 2 guys were so good, man. It's just we didn't think the show was gonna be this good, this tight. But I was very impressed. A lot of these guys brought great condition to the show. We complain a lot about, they're not ripped anymore. They are. This show, these guys brought like a good look to them. They have nothing to be ashamed of, man. Like, props to all of them.
Yeah, and I had this 4th place was Emmanuel Alvarez, Cuban Flex. The only reason I know this was pro debut was because he is the coach of Brian Jones, Lord Jones, who I just had on Ron Line Report recently. And they trained together, and he said he was getting ready for his pro debut in Orlando. I'm like, oh, all right. You know, I didn't think much of it. Looked at a couple of his pictures on Instagram. I was like, yeah, he looks pretty good. But 4th place in this lineup, he must have looked pretty dang good because he beat Domenico. He beat Jason Lowe. There's some other guys on this list who've won shows before. Matt Kuba looked really good from the pictures I saw. So do you recall much about Emmanuel, Mike?
Emmanuel, he's very, very complete, like very nice taper to him, good quads. Good condition. He doesn't. I don't want to say explode on stage, but when you looked at him when he was compared with the 3rd through 8th place guys, he really stood out in that lineup. But again, the judges worked these guys. They gave him a good look, and he delivered. Your pro debut, man. You know what I mean? Competing against some of the top guys in the world, he looked phenomenal.
Yeah, and Chris DiDomenico, I remember I've seen him a couple times. Like I think he did like Chicago one year, maybe Tampa. Because that's the last nationals I went to. That was a few years ago. So I didn't know if this guy was ever going to pan out because so many times they don't. It's a tough sport. So I'm very happy to see him up there because I know I follow him on Instagram. The guy is strong as a bull. He trains his ass off, gets in a crazy condition. The conditioning from the pictures I was seeing looked right there. The best.
And that's
what that looked.
You just stand, and when you're that lean, if you're not the biggest guy on stage or have the best structure, come in shredded. That's what's going to get you that look from the judges. And Chris got a good look, and he delivered.
I'm gonna I'm going to go to a couple of the comments from the live chat real quick. Thanks, Giles, for staying up and joining us. Josefa Iva Guer.
A bit there.
Yeah, look, he's fading fast, guys. Can only go on pics look like Hassan one. Yeah, a lot of people.
In the morning. I've got legs in the morning, guys.
A lot of people do have Hassan. They thought Hassan was going to win. Some say we're muted and there was no sound. That was an old one from when we had no sound. Earlier today. Okay, so now we have to address this. Earlier we said this Hassan could beat Ian Valliere. Was the difference that dramatic? You tell us, Mike. Was it? Yeah.
He didn't lose anything, right? It's just Phil got better and Phil had a better structure, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's just Hassan. He wasn't off, but he was very good physique. This Hassan probably could have beat Ian, and this Phil probably could have beat Ian as well. Because but we're nitpicking, Ron. Like these guys are all interchangeable. So Phil's going, Ian's going, Hassan might go. These guys are all interchangeable. Any given week, any given show, they can beat each other. You know, it's just these guys now are that close, that good. But it's just crazy because, you know, Phil made a hell of a change in a couple of hours like that. Like that's just not. You don't see that very often in a with prejudging that close together. But props to him.
There's a conspiracy theory on that he won because he was a hometown guy. No, come on, guys.
No, he's not from Orlando.
It's not like all the judges were from Florida, guys. Come on now. Don't be silly. Vancouver Pro in 2 weeks. Hassan should do Vancouver. Yeah, I mean, he should do another show right away. One of these shows very, very soon. Upper body one. Hassan should do Vancouver. Yeah, okay. Well, I'm sure he's thinking about it, guys. I'm sure because he's got to do something. He's not stopping now. I'm sure he's not stopping now. Phil's a front runner for Masters Olympia. Happy for old man? How dare you? How dare you? I resemble that remark. Hassan can win in Brazil easily. Resemble. Yeah, it's an old Three Stooges joke. Brazil, what pro show is coming up in Brazil for open men? I didn't know there was one.
They have these little sneaky shows, don't they?
They do put on. I'll tell you, guys. Whoever is running the Muscle Contest Instagram, you're working your butt off because I get notifications like all day and night. They are killing the social media game, which you should in 2023. So God bless them. Now Phil Hassan gave it a good run.
Anymore, correct?
I think Hassan. I think Chad did a great job with Hassan.
Yeah,
Hassan looked fantastic today. It's just sometimes somebody. This is a rare occasion where somebody improves that. I honestly can't remember. If this had happened multiple times, I wouldn't feel this the way about the confirmation round that I do. That it's like redundant. But this shows you that even on a one day show,
it matters.
It took somebody from you gave it your best, Phil, but Hassan Mostafa is just crazy. You can't beat Hassan. You know,
I can't wait to see the judging sheets tomorrow morning.
Yes.
I'm really excited because, like I said, I've been sick of seeing this 333, 666, It just means that the head judge is basically calling the shots, and that's so I'd be interested to see, what's happening there, because I think maybe that was addressed because if there's 5 or 6 judges, there should be 5 or 6 judges making their individual opinions, not just the head judge is putting him in the middle and him on the second, so that's where we have to fall into line, so this tells me good things, so
if Phil had not won, if Hassan had somehow still won tonight, which could have happened, I've seen it before. I was going to make a point to say, guys, even though the score sheets might show it was a perfect win for Hassan, it was definitely much closer than that. A lot of times these score sheets, like Giles said, perfect score. And you think, oh, this was a clean sweep. Nobody was even close to this guy. And if you were at the show or even watching a live stream, a lot of you guys know from past experience, these things are close. A lot of times it can go either way. And when it can go either way, you would expect to see one of the second place guy, maybe get a couple first place votes, but rarely do you. So I am very anxious. I'll check that out on ifbbpro.com tomorrow.
I mean, do you remember the stink between me and Milo when I said that I had Andrew Jack winning on day one of the Arnold? I thought maybe he could have won it. I mean, the problems that caused between me and him, because it shows that it was just not just how fast bodies can change, but also the fact that judges are paying attention, to these kinds of things, because I think it's important, because like I said, that's what makes it a sporting element of the industry, because when and it makes it competitive and it makes it interesting for the fans to follow. The fact that that, okay, then you've got the same guys coming on stage in a few hours' time, but things could have changed, and the judges are going to take note of that. So, like I said, it's I think it's a good thing. I think it's, and even now we're seeing dramatic changes on shows on one day. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't have been so shocked if this show had happened over 2 days. Hassan nailed it day one, like Andrew Jack did at the Arnold, and then by day two, the other guys get better and that guy gets worse, which is basically what happened here, but it happened in just a few hours. So I think this is unprecedented what's happening here today, because for me, and I think everyone was unanimously decided, for me, from what I could see and gather, and what we were saying, that Hassan had the judging, but tonight, it flipped on its head in just a few hours. So it blows my mind.
They're judging the physique, not the names. They're there.
Well,
it's not a name game anymore. You know what I mean? It's just they're judging who shows up in shape that day. Not, hey, so and so looked great a couple shows ago, but who looks good on this day? And that makes it more exciting. So it's not the same names. We're not going to see the same guys winning every single show. We're not going to see an 8-time Mr. Olympia anymore. So it's just a different era with different the sports in a different spot now.
I mean, I was bored of hearing the politics argument 30 years ago, and now it's like, don't even. I think now, I see less and less of that now, thank God. I mean, you still see people whinging because, they're a Hassan fan or they're an Ian Valier fan. You still see that. You're never going to, Nick Walker, if Nick Walker had been last place at the Arnold Classic, there'd be 99% of his fans still would have said he should have won, because they're not, some of these people aren't necessarily bodybuilding fans. They're the fan of that person, and they don't maybe have, because they watch their YouTube and they're rooting for them, and they don't understand how judging and the sport works. So they want their guy to, it's like bloody Eurovision. They want their country. They want their guy to win. It doesn't matter if I know he maybe doesn't look the best. I don't even know what constitutes the best. So they just, they root for their guy because they root for their guy, not because he's the best, but because they love him.
Fans judge with their heart, not their heads.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like
You can't get too angry with these people or really be too condescending when you're like, mate, so and so won that, not your guy, and you want to shut them down, but sometimes you have to be a little bit tolerant and understand that maybe they're just doing it because, like you said, they're judging from their heart.
Yeah.
I just want to say the judging, it has improved so much over the past 30 years steadily. There was a time when I saw contests where the decisions, they made no sense. Like when you had the Olympia title in the past, you could come in off and still keep your Olympia title. Those days are gone. In the past, sometimes I saw people getting call-outs based on who their sponsors were, how famous they were. It doesn't matter. None of that matters anymore. You have people with like no Instagram followings coming in and winning. People who don't have a supplement contract winning. All that stuff's out the window. I'm very happy because it was disheartening for a lot of the fans for many years to see the fix was in, which sometimes it was. It was some shit judging, and it's so much better now. So much better. It's never going to be perfect. It's subjective. No one's ever going to agree on who should win first, second, third, fourth. No, because everyone's got their own opinion what they like. But man, they do a much better job now of being fair and impartial and judging the best physiques in front of them that day.
If we had that judging panel today at contests in the past, who would we now have as Mr. Olympias and Arnold Classic champions? I'm thinking Victor Martinez,
Sean Ray, Flex Wheeler. They would all have
Lila Brada, 1990.
Give me some years and names of if basically the skill of the judges and the way they judge it today. Who would we now have in the history books as the champions? Come on, you want each.
1990, Lila Brada.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Chicago.
Okay.
I'm gonna go 2007 Olympia, Victor Martinez.
Yeah, 100%.
97 Olympia. NASA probably should have won that one.
Mm-hmm.
No.
2001 Olympia, Jay Cutler instead of Ronnie.
No. I'm a Ronnie fan. No, I said, and do you know what? I had Ronnie and Jay on a podcast together, and I said that, and Jay said, "Oh well, no, you're doing it because you're obviously a Ronnie fan." And Ronnie started laughing, and I said, "No, I've got a point with this." I said, if anything, there's a better argument for you coming closer at the 2005 Olympia than at the 2001. Because at the 2005 Olympia, if you watch the Battle for the Olympia, because you see the prejudging from that year's Olympia, that was the first year where you turned to the back and you matched Ronnie. In 2001, Ronnie, you matched Ronnie, probably beat Ronnie in some of the front shots, maybe even the side shots, I said, but the back shots, Ronnie was night and day. So that's where Ronnie, because that was my first ever Olympia, the 2001 Olympia. But when it turned to the back, you know, you did have the glutes, the hams, the back, the lower lats, the detail, the size, the development. But in 2005, when he turned around, that was the first time that Jay ever really hung with Ronnie from the back. So like Jay was kind of like all defensive. And I said, no, I'm actually in your defense. What I'm going to say now, listen carefully. And he just went, and Ronnie was just like looking a bit shocked as well.
Oh,
Never biased. And I had Ronnie Coleman in front of me who's paying me to do this podcast with him. And you can see he's thinking, be careful what you say, Giles. Very careful. I'm counting your money here. One call.
Getting to the chat for a second. Neo Sand King, Phil's insane abs, serratus separation, and detail on stage is a big factor he had over Hassan. Hassan abs only comes alive during posing. I do have to say that to me, the midsection rarely factors in when it's close, but I think in this case, Phil's midsection was a huge advantage over Hassan. Mike, what do you think?
Phil's got that crazy detail in those abs, and the thing is, his waist is small. He has those huge lats that flare out. It just adds to his shape over a guy. Like Hassan comes a little bit more narrow to the abs. Now Hassan's starting to turn and do kind of like the oblique pose from the side, like Ian kind of does.
Yeah.
But Phil can hit that pose dead on, right? Coming down to that tiny waist, those tiny abs, and those obliques are just like Robbie Robinson-ish. You know what I mean? That crazy piano-like detail. But I don't think the show was decided by the abs. But if we're going to nitpick and say, you know, who had better abs, yes, than Phil. But I don't think that determined it per se.
Hang on. Do you know what? One of the best things I saw today was when I saw the frontal bicep of Hassan when he brings his abs down there. When Nick Walker does that. And it didn't look like a bad pose for him. Normally it's like, it just looks like the waist comes out and the obliques are spilling over. When he flexed the abs and all the intercostals came in, that looks like actually a really strong pose from now. So whatever, if that's a new way of posing, and it wasn't just the fact his midsection was a little bit smaller and he had maybe he was a little bit flatter, I'd really like to see him do it every single time now. Because the thing is, with the front of a bicep, that's your first pose. You know, and if you're on that first call out, that first impression, the judges straight away are going, right, okay, you've got my attention. Because like I said, if your worst pose is your front of a bicep, you're already off to a bad start.
And Hassan's, he's kind of twisting a little bit as well. So he's sucking down in a little twist. So it creates a crazier taper to it. It's a great pose for him. Like from what he used to do, kind of just straight on and just boom, that kind of little twist and blowing out, it makes a humongous difference. It draws your eye to him.
What do you think if he changed it? You remember when Tom Platz used to put one, when he did the intercostal pose, the oblique, he used to put one arm behind and he's put the other one behind.
Like that, yes.
Yeah.
Did that. And Branch Warren used to do it with like that, and he used to put the hand. And I'm just thinking, because he does it, and he does it in a way that makes his midsection look thick. I think maybe if he tweaked that pose and did it like one of some of the old school guys like Branch or Tom Platz, I think he could really improve that pose. I think there's a few things I think we've seen today with that frontal bicep. There is things that he can do through posing that will improve his compulsories, because like I said, the side chest, the side tricep, you know, the structure isn't really seen in that shot. You just get the benefit of his freakiness and his size and his density. Rear double bicep, rear lat spread, absolutely phenomenal. Front double bicep with the abs, the abs. So really the weak shots he's now got is the ab shot, the intercostal shot on the front. I mean, the front lat spread, it's like Nick Walker, not much he can do. No. But I think there's always things you can do and experiments you can try to make those poses look slightly better. So I don't know what you guys think.
I think too, the more he works with Chad, and they got a winning formula, right? So I think going forward, they can kind of know what to expect with it. But like you said, Giles, his front lat, he can't do much with that, right? He's like a side tricep there, but he just got to work with his strengths. Just keep working with his strengths, and You want to see this guy at the Olympia. I want to see him at the Olympia looking like this, just to kind of see where he fits in with, with the Ians, now with Phil again, just with those guys, 7 through 11, kind of see where they fall through. But it's a constant evolving process. You know what I mean? He's working for it. The judges they're making him work for it, man. I think he'll get rewarded, but he's working for that qualification now.
I mean, he can hang with Nick Walker and Hadi and Derek in terms of actual muscle size and density, but he doesn't have the small waist of a Derek Lunsford. He doesn't have a lot of things that Hadi doesn't have, but there's always little things that they can do with things like posing, bringing him in flat so his waist is different, like I said, posing differently. So, because I mean, these tiny little differences between getting 13th and 6 to 8 Olympia, so I might try and see if I can speak to Chad as well and see if I can pick his brains about if he'll reveal what the plan is now for moving forward, because Hassan size-wise is, I mean, he's up there with anyone. I mean, Ramy at his best, Brandon Curry. I mean, he's, like I said, any of those guys I just mentioned, Nick Walker, Derek Lunsford, Hadi Choopan, this guy is, he's world class. I mean, he's not like a scraping top 10. I mean, he's like a top 6 guy, really. But will he ever do what he needs to do and know what he needs to do to be able to get up to that point? Or is he just going to just hover around the 10th to 15th and win the odd pro show here and there? I don't know.
He's got an ungodly amount of muscle. When he walked out by himself, it's just, you're like, how is that even possible? It's just, and it's conditioned muscle now, but it's just, I don't know. You just kind of shake your head and like you said, Giles, is he going to finally make that next step to where he's pushing those top guys? Because he's got all the muscle. He doesn't need to get any bigger. He can't really put much more size on that frame, right? But no, it's just, it's cartoonish. It truly is cartoonish.
Ron, what do you think if you were speaking to Chad like tonight? What would you like to hear from Chad that you felt that Hassan needs to do to really make those improvements, to really go to the next level again now?
You don't know what more he can do with his physique. I thought his physique was on point today. I think presentation, he's going to have to figure out ways to make some of those weak poses not as weak. I don't know exactly how you can do that in something as straightforward as a front lat spread or a front double bicep, but he's got all the muscle he needs. It's not like he's lagging in any, he needs more hams or he doesn't need more muscle tissue. His conditioning was great. So what does that leave? It just really leaves presentation as the only factor that can be improved on. Yeah. So I would get him with the best posing coach there is. I don't know who that, a lot of guys use Kenny Wallach out of Connecticut. He works with a lot of top athletes. But they'll figure it out. They've got a whole team, but I just think that's one thing he could really improve on.
When people talk about so-and-so needs to improve their posing to do better or be better, they always talk about posing routines and putting a good routine together. But how many times, like this is why probably Kenny Wallach is a bit of an unsung hero and he's so important and why he's everywhere, but people don't really talk about him because what he's doing, he's just basically putting people and competitors by making their compulsories look as good as possible. And I don't think people really, and fans and bodybuilders really realize how important that is. That's why I think Dorian, one of the reasons Dorian always did so well, because not only does physique come together in the compulsory poses beautifully, all his flaws and everything, all his pluses and everything came together in those 7-8 poses. But I think it's because he knew how to hit them properly. And that's why Nick Walker improved his posing at the Arnold Classic a couple of years ago, because his compulsories, really for me, even though I thought his posing routine was terrible that year, his posing at the pre-judging was like the new benchmark. I mean, the way he was hitting his poses, the way he was holding them and, not hitting 10 variations, and he was just holding, he wasn't gassing. It was like, this guy is giving a masterclass to the other guys. And I think that's really, really partly of why he was so successful, because he nailed those compulsories.
But presentation is just, that should be just like your training, right? You train hard, you bust your ass in the gym, you need to bust your ass posing. Like, it's a lost art form. We don't see we don't see guys come out. We don't sit up in our chairs anymore. Like we don't. It's very few guys that do that. But everybody focuses on the routine. But before you get to the routine, you got to get to the compulsories. You got to know how to do the mandatories. Like from day one, over and over. When you're tired, when you're hungry, those are the time to practice those poses and ask for help. If you can afford to get Kenny Walk through your posing, why aren't you? That little bit can maybe make you a lot of money. You know what I mean? That little tweak here of the wrist here, that you blowing out here, or you put your toe this way, that makes a humongous difference. And you can see those guys that can pose great on stage. They hit it, boom, hold it.
Can you imagine if Lee Labrada had never nailed that leaning front of a bicep with the way he did it? It's like, you know. And
like this, though, like he would do it in a second, like snap into it, boom, statue. If Paul Dillette posed like even 20% better, imagine what we would have seen, what could have been, right? But I remember I saw him guest pose in '98 before the Olympia, 4 weeks out, 290 shredded. Wow. He literally posed for 30 seconds. 30 seconds.
Then he needed oxygen, right?
He was like this and then walked off. But it was so impressive to see. But if you can't show what you work, you diet for 20 freaking weeks, suffer, and you only listen on stage. You're on stage for like this, man. You might as well make the most of it. And you're a professional. This is your job. This is what you're getting paid to do.
But the bulk of bodybuilding, I mean, I sound like a broken record. The bulk of bodybuilding judging of where you fall in the rankings, which is your overall career, what you're training and doing everything for, is these compulsory poses. And some guys don't even know how to hit those compulsories properly, or they think, oh, well, I'll play it safe and hit 10 variations in every single pose. And they're hitting it so fast that the photographers can't get a picture. Mm-hmm. They can't, you know, and the judges are like, well, which one is the actual one you're hitting here? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think that's something that needs to be addressed. And then you've got people like Rachel Daniels who are helping them choreograph decent routines, and Terence Ruffin, and you know, I think you know, there's I mean, you and I know it's I'm a big proponent for posing, but it's not just posing, but presentation and knowing how to present your physique its best. Is basically what I'm saying.
I'd like to add, I want to hear in every head judge from now on say your favorite most muscular, and only do one, because they hit like 3, 4. It's like I can't take a damn. Every time I've ever taken pictures of the group, the 4, 5, 6 guys on stage hitting most muscular, somebody's not in the pose, if not a couple guys, because they're getting from one most muscular to another. So you'll have 2 guys in the pose, another guy's got his arm out here, and it's just annoying. So pick one.
Please. Well, I think you've heard my old man rant now about posing, and I think I've ranted enough now, and I'm out of rant.
So Fasting Frugivore is talking to you, Giles. We're logging off, Giles. Please, and he puts a little tiger emoji. Please get some rest. You are losing sleep, and you are just getting back from a rough patch or two, mate. It is 2:30 in the morning over there.
Oh, damn, right? Giles.
Dude, so woof. He's got a leg training in the morning. He's got MD Global Muscle to produce tomorrow, interviews in the studio there. So let's wrap it up. Yes, Mike Cox, we are indebted to you.
Thank you, guys. It's been an honor, pleasure.
There's a few people I would trust the opinions of 100%. You're one of them, Mike. So thank you, Mike Cox. Thanks, Mandy.
Mandy Tall back at the background. Mandy, say hi.
Yeah, Mandy took all the pic. Did she take all the pictures?
Yes, she did. She's a photographer.
Great job with the picture.
Thank you, Mandy. Thank you, the best.
Good job. Oh, I stole some from my Global Muscle Instagram. Sorry.
Huh? Yeah, there you go. Cool.
I'll credit Mike.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, there you go, Giles. Give me a shout out.
The heck is that? Okay. Oh, boy. Yes, I see that. Giles, thank you for staying up very, very late, way past your bedtime. None of us here are spring chickens, so I appreciate it.
No.
Thank Jen behind the snes. Jen puts this whole thing together.
Thank you, Jen.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys. My pleasure.
Sorry, I watched because I was watching straight afterwards, and I was, you know, listen, with the edits, the way you brought it up and you did it so quickly, it really does add to the visual, Jen. It really adds to the, you know, so that's, I mean, like I said, you do that so fast and you do it live, and I don't think people realize. You know, I can go and edit a global and spend 2 days on bringing stuff up and finding relevant. But when doing that live, that is a whole new, that's your thing, Jen, and you implemented that. So great job. Thank you.
Thank
It makes
you,
it so much
Giles.
better.
Thank you, Giles. My pleasure. And it's
Thank you.
easy when you work with the best team in the business.
She did it with fireworks
One day you will,
exploding
Jen.
all
One day you
around
will.
her tonight, too. Sounded like there was a gunfight in her neighborhood when we were starting this thing. Man.
That's great.
So, all right. I want to thank all of you who participated in the chat. We do appreciate your feedback live. That's why we really love doing these live wrap-ups, because you guys are part of it. If you're watching this on the rerun, we appreciate that too. So subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, turn on your notifications, not only on the YouTube, but on your phone. Then, you know, when we have all the great content out there, the Giles and Buff Bombshell and MD Global Muscle and that Ron Line thing and Ask Dr. T. We got all kinds of great stuff here on this channel, guys. Check it out. Appreciate you watching. So that's it.
Ron, do you want to know
second. Okay. He's showing us the what's that? He's showing the DLB cover, the July MD cover with Dana Lynn Bailey.
Magic rock? I've got a tiger eye magic rock. It gives you my mystic powers.
You send me one of those. I think I'd like to benefit from that as well.
That's great.
Got like Fraggle Rock. Anyway.
I saw Phil Clahar winning. Ron.
Holy flashback, Ron.
Clahar winning when I looked at the rock.
Is that like a crystal? He sits with all this new age crystal stuff over there.
Yeah, Lauren bought it for me. I was like, okay, cool, thank you.
Okay, wow. Sounds she's just trying to help. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much for watching Muscular Development's wrap up of the finals, the Orlando Pro. Again, congratulations to Phil Clahar. Phil Clahar with his first pro win, qualified for the Mr. Olympia contest, and in 7 or 8 weeks he'll be on stage as a front runner for the Masters Olympia title. We'll be doing coverage on that. Giles is doing the actual live stream commentary along with Lauren. Some special guests like Jay Cutler are going to join him on that too.
I'll do it live for MD as well afterwards.
Yes, it'll be like 5 a.m. for him by that point. Oh no, it's Europe, so he's actually going to be okay. So that's it, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate it. We will see you right here next time.